Welcome back to the Skids Giggles Podcast. I am Pascal, chief instigator of this show and your host. I'm joined by my co-host and the resident engineer, the yin to my yang, the Snoopy to my Woodstock, Bryson. How's it going today, buddy?
Hey, Pascal. It's going good. How about you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Today we are joined by a guest that has been recommended by one of our former guests, and we're really excited to have Karin on to talk to us about mountain biking today. Karin, how is it going?
Hey, hi, guys. Pascal and Bryson. Thanks for having me. I'm good.
Great. Thank you for joining us. And of course, also for doing this conversation in English. It means a lot to us. And yeah, we're looking forward to the conversation. But before we get to that, let's just briefly do our spiel with the social and where you guys can find more information about the Skids and Giggles podcast. We are currently most active on Instagram, where you guys can skid right into our DMs and follow along at Skids and Giggles. And you can find our website with all the relevant links and info under the URL skidsandgiggles.com. Also, if you guys like what we're doing and want to know what's up, just give us a follow on Spotify. Hit subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you listen to great podcasts. Finally, sharing episodes you enjoy on your socials or a heartfelt 5-star rating on your favorite platform goes a long way in helping us reach more people like you. Well, right on. Let's get back to Karin. Karin, to start with and maybe set the scene, why don't you tell us a little bit about what kind of mountain biker you are?
Well, I'm the kind of mountain biker you will find on trails all over Switzerland. I like fast, flowy, playful tracks with some technical sections. But I also like to ride in the park. Mostly jumping, so if there's a jump line, you will find me there.
Very nice. Well, and I guess, how did you get into all that jumping and the technical flow stuff? How did you get into mountain biking?
Well, I got into mountain biking very late. It was when I was 27, back in 2006. But I have always been into freestyle sports. So I started skateboarding when I was 5. And then, of course, as soon as snowboarding was a thing, I had to do that as well. And then I was very into wakeboarding and surfing, wave riding. And eventually, surfing led me to mountain biking, actually.
How did that happen? I mean, it's not quite so related.
It isn't. That's true. So as a surfer living in Switzerland, it was always hard to go on vacations, waiting for waves for about 2 weeks. And then once the swell is there, you have to go back. So at 25, I thought, well, just go on a year vacation trip and experience all the surfing stuff. So I took time off, and traveled the world. Started in Hawaii, Fiji, and ended up in New Zealand. And when I got to New Zealand, it was winter time. It was like August, I guess, and it was very cold. The water was very, very cold, and my wetsuit wasn't thick enough. And in New Zealand especially, sports gear is so expensive. So I couldn't afford a thicker wetsuit. And so I decided to, just wait out the winter and go traveling around the islands. So I ended up in the South Island, and there was Queenstown, the famous action sport town in New Zealand, I would say. And I saw that you could actually rent a bike, which was a Kona Stinky. And yeah, then I went shuttling, and that was my first mountain bike experience. And from the day afterwards, I knew that I wanted to, go into that sport once I'm back in Switzerland.
So you sold all your surfing gear in New Zealand for a lot of money because it's so expensive,
Yes,
and bought a mountain bike, which is obviously a super cheap sport.
true. Yes, so yeah, first when I got back, I had to find a job and had to save some money. And with my first savings, I bought a bike. Yes.
What drives your riding today? What inspires you to ride today?
Well, mountain biking inspires me because I could do it actually in Switzerland, right? So I don't have to travel overseas to go unlike surfing. So that's something which I really like, that I can just go around Switzerland and experience the mountain on my bike. And yeah, Switzerland is like a mountain bike paradise, which is really cool. Then also the social stuff you get with mountain biking. It's more like the balance between social and antisocial. Sometimes I'm really social, but sometimes not. And mountain bike is a sport where you can just, if you're not that very social on a day, so you can just go by yourself and have good fun with yourself. And if you want to hang out with bike friends, you can team up with some and have a good day. That's pretty much what's the sport. Yeah, that's my favorite thing about the sport.
What has been obviously you only got to mountain biking relatively late, as you say, in your life. But what has been the most rewarding experience so far in all of this?
So yeah, it's actually the cool thing about mountain biking is it takes me to some beautiful places. I wouldn't go if I wouldn't do the sport, right? So I'm not much into hiking. So I will probably not go into the mountains if there wasn't a mountain bike. And then it's just experience you share with the friends while on the bike. It's just a cool and fun thing to do with other people.
Okay, and so yeah, of course, this is a podcast about mountain biking in Switzerland, and we like to explore kind of our own riding and where we like to ride and what the differences are in Switzerland, because that's, I believe, one of the most interesting aspects of the riding here in Switzerland is just how different it can be, right? I'm just curious, kind of what. And we will get to that later. You obviously travel a lot and you've come around quite a bit. So I was just wondering, before we get into that, kind of, if you could talk a little bit about your riding in Switzerland and kind of what your favorite destinations are in Switzerland and where you like riding the most.
Well, the first 10 years out of my 15 years experience in mountain biking was mostly orientated in freeride downhill biking. So I was always in bike parks. And at that time, there weren't that many bike parks in Switzerland. So you would have go to Lac Blanc, which is in France, or Porto du Soleil, which is also mostly in France, Livigno in Italy. So I was very focusing on those kind of bike parks. And the last 5 years, I've been mostly riding trails with paddling. So especially in the wintertime or this year around, in Switzerland, you have to paddle up. And since we have those cool enduro bikes where you can ride down pretty awesome trails and also got the bike paddled up. So I paddle And then that's the thing which lets me to go at very different places, actually. Once you paddle up, there are so many interesting places. In the wintertime, I'm mostly in Ticino, in the south part of Switzerland. And especially this year, I found so many cool trails. I don't know if they are new or newer, but I didn't discover it. And also Wallis. Valais would be something which I really like to go, mostly on vacation, because from Zurich it's a little bit more, it's further away than, for example, Ticino, where you have like the tunnel. So you have to go through the mountains either by train or up the
Pass.
the pass, yes,
Or around.
or around the Autobahn. So yeah, my favorite thing to ride would be Zermatt.
A nice one. A theme on this podcast. We've had quite a few conversations about Zermatt, so
Yes.
we're gonna spare all the details. But there's not only if you're into racing, but also if you're into just casual trail riding and all that. So it's but as you say, Zermatt is not the easiest to get to. Just depending on where you are, but I think from where we are in Zurich, it's a bit of a trek to get to, but definitely worth the trip. I alluded to it before already. You're traveling quite a bit. I've obviously researched your persona a little bit ahead of our conversation today, and you're very present in the media about your lifestyle with let's say remote working, traveling, and combining that with your mountain biking. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Maybe can you talk a little bit, just generally what you do as a career and how you manage your traveling with your career?
Sure. Well, I studied interaction design, so I'm a designer focusing on the user's experience. So, designing interfaces, usability, and all that stuff. And 8 years ago, I co-founded a web agency with some of my friends, and now we are a team of 7 already. And we basically we are based in Switzerland and Germany, and are focusing on designing and developing customer websites and web application for mostly enterprise clients all over Switzerland, and some of them are in Germany. And as you mentioned, our team works remote, not just because of the lockdown and the home office COVID stuff we have all experienced the last couple of months. We work remote since we founded the agency, and our team is distributed all over Switzerland, Germany, and one of our team member actually works and lives from Bangkok. He's German, but he works in Bangkok at the moment. Wow. And since we are a company where it doesn't matter where you live, because you can work from everywhere, I can travel all over the world and work actually wherever I want. Yeah.
Very nice. And it's just from the perspective of someone with a very traditional job, let's say, or a job profile. How do you manage, working from anywhere in the world, which obviously includes time zones, which includes client deadlines. How do you manage all of that and still find time to ride?
actually really tough because once you're abroad and in another country or place or even time zone, everything is new and you want to explore stuff, but also you have deadlines and you have to work. So the balance is sometimes really tough, but also cool because once you are in a different time zone, there are some hours of the day where Switzerland and all our clients are not working or at sleep, and then you get a lot of time for writing, which is cool. So you basically work. Mostly, it depends on what time zone you are, but I try to have always 4 hours overlap with the team, and the rest can be a very productive working hours or writing.
If you travel abroad and work remotely, I'm just curious, how long are your trips? Are you setting up, I don't know, I'm just saying a random location that no one would ever go to, right? So let's say Whistler. How long are you staying there? Are you then staying there for a couple of weeks? Are you staying there for a couple of months? Or how does that work?
It depends. So so far, mostly it's just a couple weeks combined with conferences. Sometimes business-related conferences. I have some talks and then I extend my trips. But I actually did a longer travel and work trip in 2014. I've been traveling mostly South America and Australia for surfing, and that was about 4 months, which was quite a cool thing, but also exhausting because you always have to manage, the time zone and what to do, and you also want to see or go surfing. And regarding time zone, everything regarding Asia or Australia, where people are upfront, it's easy. But if you are behind, for example, Whistler, which I also have been, with -9 hours, it was very, very exhausting to catch up because you are always a day behind or more than a day behind. And there was one year in 2016, that was actually my first time going to Whistler. And it should have been only a vacation trip. So I was very spontaneously and booked a trip to Whistler because it was so spontaneously, the flights were very expensive. So I chose a flight within a time frame of 3 or 4 weeks. So I could manage to have a little bit cheaper flights. So I knew that I would go to a vacation trip, work trip actually. So there was planned to go 2 weeks for vacation, and before that I should have been working from Whistler. And it accidentally ended up to be a 2 months.
What a horrible
trip.
Accident.
Yeah, exactly. So I was so stoked about Whistler that I decided to not go on my flight back and just stayed another month.
Nice. Very good. Yeah, no, I mean, we've, so my better half, she's from Vancouver. So we were very familiar with the time zone difference to there. And we've tried in the past, or my better half has tried to work Zurich hours during while staying in Vancouver. And that is brutal.
Yes.
But yeah, it was during a family holiday, so not a riding holiday or anything else. So, but yeah, it's very tough. So, which is why I'm curious how you manage so kind of time differences and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, it also was very tough because once you are in Whistler, everyone around you has vacation and they are riding all day. And I had to work. So, and sometimes I had meetings. Almost every day I had meetings, and meetings started after 10 p.m. because of this time difference. So I would work until 5 p.m. In summertime, the Whistler lifts are open until 8, so I could ride a decent amount of hours, like 3 hours was pretty cool every day. And afterwards, you obviously go for a beer. And then I had, at 10 p.m., I had to tell my bike friends, well, have a nice one, I have to go work.
Nice, with a couple of beers in your head.
Yes, which was really, really tough. And also, while I was working, everyone texted me, hey, when are you coming? I'm there, let's meet. And it was very tough. As a mountain biker, being in Whistler and having deadlines and working for clients was was a mental toughness.
Oh yeah, it's an exercise. It's an
Yes.
exercise in mental toughness. That's for sure. But in all of this traveling and working at the same time and mountain biking, what has been the best experience so far?
Well, the best experience was actually Whistler, I would say, regarding work, travel, and mountain biking, because it was, except of the struggles and the mind exercise, it was really cool to have like a whole working day, and then afterwards you get some couple decent hours in the park. And yeah, Whistler is one of my favorite bike park anyways, since I have been first time there. So yeah, that would be my best and worst experience, I would say.
Oh, and the worst. That
Yes.
That would have been my next question. It's like, okay, well, it can't be all good and easy and easy street, as Bryson would call it. But what was the worst so far? What is the hardest in terms of managing your riding and your work and traveling?
Well, the hardest is that once you are in a different country and you're working with your laptop, you're always looking out for proper Wi-Fi. And so you would choose maybe a good Airbnb, which has a proper Wi-Fi to get all your stuff done. But then once you got a decent Wi-Fi, there is lunchtime. And lunchtime would be, okay, where do I eat? And if you are working from home, you don't have to decide where you eat. So you know everything. So you go on your favorite places or you cook something in your kitchen. And once you are traveling and working, there are all those decisions you have made. It seems not quite of. It seems not that it's a hard thing to do at home, but it can be a struggle once you're not in your hometown. And then if you have your mountain bike with you, there is the need to go and explore the trails. And it, as I said, it can be the best experience, work and travel, but it can be very exhausting because of those things, the decision you have to make, or the meetings you would actually miss. Especially when I was in Whistler, with minus 9 hours of time difference. You would go to bed, check your emails, and you would know, okay, I have to get up maybe at 6 or 7 o'clock because there is a client meeting. But while you are sleeping, maybe your client decided with your team that the meeting will take place an hour before you thought the meeting will be. And then you wake up and you see, oh, there's a meeting going on. So it happened actually that I woke up, watched on my phone, saw that there is a meeting going on, and I went straight into the video call without camera for sure, but I was very sleepy.
But you got it. You got it done in the end.
I got it done. Yes.
Very good. But yeah, it's a funny thing you mentioned is because Bryson and I, we had a conversation the other day when he moved. So Bryson moved to Bern, so he's not in Zurich anymore, and we were talking about moving and exactly about those things that you describe with finding your way around a new neighborhood. It's just until you figured out, where you get your food and where you get your whatever laundry done, depending on where you live. So we used to live in London for quite some time, and there would always be for kind of my checklist when we moved to a new place would be kind of like, okay, where can I get my shirts done? Where do we get the food? How do I get to work? And stuff like that. And then as soon as you have figured out these kind of trivial things, then all of a sudden it's kind of like everything is fine, and then from then on you can start unpacking a bike and then start going for a ride again.
So Karin, now that you're based back in Zurich, let's just say a scenario outside of the pandemic. What would be the main challenge you face in doing traveling trips while working?
It depends. It depends where I would go to travel and work. Lately, I'm not exactly in the mood in travel and work that often. It has nothing to do with the actual situation and COVID, but it's just because if you are so long independent and you can travel and work from everywhere you want, like I did it like the last 8 years, you get tired and you want your structure. And especially with mountain biking, in summertime, I just want to be in Switzerland because I want to ride my bike. And if I go traveling, most of the time I don't take my bike with me, because why would I? I have all my trails in Switzerland, so I don't have to go on a plane with my bike, unless it's Whistler. So yeah, there is not much really struggles with work and travel lately. And at the moment it's more like my team, which is very distributed. Even my team members in Germany, we didn't see each other since summer 2019. So I feel the need to meet up again and have some in-person conversations and social interactions. So that's for our company and for our team. This is at the moment the biggest struggle. We are planning a get together in August, but then one team member from Bangkok he wouldn't be able to join, but at least we in Switzerland and those in Germany, we could get together.
So maybe we'll have to, if heaven allows, check back with you in another 8 years to see if you've already, accomplished every trail in Switzerland and now are kind of bored of Switzerland.
Yes, maybe. Could be.
Speaking of work, you said or talked about traveling and mountain biking together, but have you ever managed to combine your work as an interaction designer with the mountain bike industry?
Yes, actually I have, which is really cool thing. Not as necessarily with my company. So within my company, we are mostly focused on the bigger brands here in Switzerland, very enterprise clients. But on a personal perspective, privately, as a side project, I'm working with Santa Cruz Bike Switzerland. So that will be Trailworks, the distributor of Switzerland. So the last 5 or 6 years or so, I've been working with them. And as a user experience designer, I had this interesting project where I could do or design a new concept of the Santa Cruz configurator, which is on santacruzbikes.ch.
What is the Santa Cruz configurator for people that don't know? Of course, we're going to put it in the show notes, but what is the basic premise of the Santa Cruz configurator?
Well, first of all, the configurator has been around quite some years, actually. I think plus 10 years already, even before I laid hands on. So what is it? The main purpose of the configurator, it's a website where you could go choose your bike. And the main purpose would always be a tool for Trailworks itself and the bike shops, so that they can order and manage bikes through that configurator. But also riders can use the website to see what bikes to get. So depending on the bike model, there are several options to choose from. So you could go to the website, first of all, decide what wheel size you want to ride, or if you want to ride more a gravel bike or a mountain bike or even a downhill bike. And once you've chosen a bike, there are other things to choose from. So maybe you would choose the frame color, the size, most importantly, the frame kit with all the parts. And in the end, you have this configuration of your maybe new bike, and you see the price and also the weight. It's actually more like a calculator than a configurator. So you just calculate how expensive it would be and how light it would be. Yes. And then once you did that, you are able to save the configuration within a custom link. And you obviously could access later and see what you want to buy or modify it again, or even share it with friends. So the link would always show your bike you want to buy maybe. And eventually you can send the link to your closest shop dealer, and they can, within the link, order your bike from the warehouse.
Okay. I mean, obviously, customization or configuration has been quite a theme and a topic on this podcast already. Does it? So, how far does the customization go? You mentioned, build kits and color, but are there also like, we know our dear friend James. He's a big fan of the stem and the pedals and the wheels and all this expensive stuff. So is there degrees of freedom how you can pick those pieces as well, or is it just like a standard kit and it gives you the price with the relevant weight?
You can only choose the standard kits, and if you want to deep dive into customizations, you are always able to just order the frame set and build up your parts you want to have, even by yourself or with your bike shop.
Okay, it's going to be the next iteration of the configurator is going to be the fully custom Santa Cruz build.
That would be nice, but I think it's not in the strategic form of the. Yeah, it's not possible because there are certain kits you get, and yeah, there is nothing else.
Not much to change on that,
Yes.
Unfortunately. Certainly not at this stage where you just need to buy whatever you can get. I think is the theme of 2021. That's for sure.
True that.
Is there any work that has followed on from this configurator with Santa Cruz? Are you doing any other work for them, or was that it?
Yes, I'm primarily responsible for the whole website actually, santacruzbikes.ch, which is only for the Swiss part, and also I'm managing the social media channels. On Instagram, it will be Santa Cruz Bike Switzerland, Santa Cruz Bike Switzerland, and also the Facebook channel.
And so when you do social media, what does that include? Are you just posting nice pictures? We heard from James that backflips are apparently the big money maker on Instagram. Can you confirm, or is what do you see as the most important content that people put out these days?
Well, on our channels, we are focusing primarily on the shop dealers, so to give them a platform. What I would post is like happy new bike days, and you would see a rider with his new bike, and maybe hopefully the shop in the background. So that's the most picture I will post. And also, stories. So if we are focusing on the riders, there is mostly a story I do. And if there is someone who is doing a cool backflip, I definitely repost that. Yes. So if there are any listeners who are able to do a backflip with a Santa Cruz bike,
on a Santa Cruz
bike, you have to mention at Santa Cruz Bike Switzerland, and I will repost it.
There you go. Backflips incoming.
Yes.
Okay. How has working with or for Santa Cruz influenced your own riding? Apart from probably riding their bikes.
Yes. So, first of all, the past 5 or 6 years, I've been given access to very cool bikes, actually. So that has influenced that in my opinion, I ride the best bikes ever, which is only my opinion. And so that's a cool one. So I could either just test one or get it by myself. And also what would be probably the greatest experience to share was last year, was it? Yeah, January 2020. We at Trailworks were invited to a VIP lunch at the headquarters in Santa Cruz, California.
Oh, wow.
For a whole week. So, and I was lucky enough to be one of them who could go. So we flew out there, and we experienced a whole week of cool riding. We got to know the whole warehouse, the headquarters, all. Yeah, maybe you saw the videos from the warehouse online on YouTube. We got to experience all that stuff, and that was really cool. And it was actually a VIP event for the pre-launch for the e-bike Heckler, which wasn't released yet, and so far nobody knew that there will be an e-bike from Santa Cruz. So I got to ride the e-bike 3 weeks before the world knew that there was something coming. Which
Okay.
was
How was the
experience.
How was the experience?
It was actually my first time riding an e-bike, which was cool to. Well, first riding an e-bike on a Santa Cruz is always cool, and it was nice. There was just 3 hours because
And then the battery ran out.
yes. No, not on my bike actually, because I didn't need it to boost that much. But it was 3 hours. We could ride in the backyard of Santa Cruz, the Santa Cruz trails in California, and it was exciting because we had to hide the bikes because nobody could see it, so we had to avoid people. And also the brand was taped, so from a distance you wouldn't see that it would be a Santa Cruz bike.
So weird. There's like these prototype bikes with covered up decals riding in Santa Cruz close to a factory. So weird. What could that be?
Yes. Yeah. That was my first and last time I rode an e-bike, actually. Yes.
Why didn't you pick one up while you're in Switzerland? Seems like the perfect place to ride one.
Yes, it is. I'm not quite there yet. I have my own policy, which I only get an e-bike once I'm 50, 50 years old. That's in 8 years. So I have to wait a little bit. I don't know if I could hold on to that, but my idea is that once you get an e-bike, I don't know if it's true, but then it's hard to get back to a normal bike because paddling is always easier with a motor, right? I don't know if you guys are owning one.
Not currently.
Not currently. However, there is, of course, e-bikes have been around for quite some time now. And I've been following the literature a little bit. And there's, of course, now some exercise science papers coming out investigating actually what is the difference between an acoustic mountain bike ride and an electric mountain bike ride. And they found out that there is actually not that much difference. So if you have 90 minutes, 2 hours to ride, and you go out on your acoustic bike, then you ride however far your legs will take you and your heart takes you and all that. And the funny thing is, they found out that with the e-bike, you're just riding further and you're riding more elevation, but in terms of the cardiovascular stress or like the fitness benefit that you actually want, the differences are pretty minimal, if not negligible. Mm-hmm. So yeah, my personal view is, and I've been pretty transparent about it, I personally don't have an e-bike. I'm currently not interested in one, but I still think that within 3 to 5 years we'll all be riding a bike with a motor, one way or the other. And what is currently coming out in the market, if you followed the press a little bit, what Specialized has been putting out, what's coming in the next couple of months, I think that is the first signs of what's to come. And I think that's the way to go in terms of e-bikes. And does everything need to be like a motorbike and weigh like 30, 40 kilos? Probably not. Is a little bit of assistance and a little bit of battery and a little bit of everything, is that good? Probably. Am I keen to try it out? Yeah. Do I want it right now? Not yet. So the price is still too high, and certainly for what's been coming out recently. So, but yeah, I'm keen to see what the market does, and because at the end of the day, the market is always going to be right, and where things are going, and we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for myself, being the hipster I am, or self-proclaimed anti-trend surfer, I've actually reverted back to riding vintage 26-inch wheels, and I'm not joking. I think we've discussed it off the air, and yeah, actually, it's a nice ride. It's nostalgic. It's cool to find all these old parts and do a little bit of reminiscing and research. So I'm exploring that kind of side of mountain biking, which is really interesting. However, as a technologist and someone who's just generally interested in tech as well, I do follow the whole idea of e-bikes and how they're working in our society, and how we probably all will be riding one eventually. And it's for the better in some cases. I really believe that. But it really took Santa Cruz quite a while to come out with an e-bike. Well, I think currently Santa Cruz has really hit the nail on the head with the Heckler and now the Bullet. I think they're cool machines. So being in the marketing side of the business, have you seen any changes, or what changes have you seen from the past when Santa Cruz didn't have an e-bike to now when Santa Cruz had an e-bike, or has an e-bike? Or two, actually.
Yeah. There are not that many changes, actually. I was really curious before the launch, and I didn't know how people would react. And for sure, some people did react very positively, but there are also haters. Some of my friends as well hit me up and were very disappointed of the brand because there is an e-bike now. But we didn't really see much of a change. People are buying e-bikes, both of them. The Heckler went really good. The Bullet is, I think, sold out since a couple months. And people buy it. And,
for good reason.
Yeah, and there are really good bikes. So the Heckler is based on the Bronson, and the Bronson is the most popular bike from Santa Cruz, I would say, in this range. And as I rode it by myself, it was really, really actually feeling like a Bronson, despite the heaviness. But from the riding perspective, it felt as much as a Bronson, and it's very agile, and that's what they wanted to achieve, that an e-bike should be a really cool bike and an agile bike the riding experience is cool, and I would say they achieved that.
One perspective of yours I'm really interested in is obviously Santa Cruz. It's been around for a while. Certainly here in Switzerland, it's a bit of a bro brand in my personal view. But I'm just curious to know how you yourself as a woman see yourself fitting in or not into that brand spectrum.
Well, me as a girl rider, I think I fit in pretty good within the Santa Cruz brand. I feel very comfortable around pro stuff, if you would say it, because I surround myself within an environment, even if it's business or in my hobbies, it's always been, I would say, man-orientated environment, which I don't have problems with that. I like that. And especially as a woman riding a bike, it doesn't matter that much if a brand is like orientated for girls or for men.
But generally, I mean, I've taken Santa Cruz as a poster child. There's plenty other brands that play on the exact same themes, etc. That leaves the last question from my side when it comes to Santa Cruz and all this bro stuff. Is of course Santa Cruz has its own brand, the women's specific brand, Juliana, and. What's your perspective on that? Do you think there is a niche for? I wouldn't even say women specific. I would say it's kind of weight and riding specific setups, basically for bikes. What's your perspective on that?
Yes, I would say there is definitely a market for women or female-focused bike-related stuff, and as Santa Cruz has done it with the brand Juliana. And I always look at it on a marketing perspective, and if you have like this pro kind of Santa Cruz orientated voice over Instagram, you probably don't reach most of the girls or most of the people, not all of them. And so if you are creating a sub-brand, in this example Juliana, you can focus and communicate differently with your target group. And I think that's the reason why such concepts are created. And what I observed, I wasn't within the process of the Juliana, but what I observe from the outside as a female rider is that most of the female rider are really feeling comfortable within a female group to support each other. It's more like a community. And I think that's what their brands are trying to create, a community. It doesn't relate for me because I'm not really a group person. And as I told you before, I struggle to connect with women since my childhood, especially if there is a group of women. I would rather go to the group of boys. I don't know why, but it's not my natural. So that's why I'm personally not the target group of such concepts. But I think there are many other girls who are really looking forward to being together, encouraging each other, and have a good time without the bro stuff.
Well, again, I'm not saying it's not only bad. I mean, it's just a cultural subculture, let's say. I'm not, we've all seen it, we've all done it to some extent, and I think it's good if people and riders, including myself and Bryson, have the radar for when you do you yourself do stuff like that, especially when you're riding in mixed groups or groups of mixed abilities and stuff like that. So it's kind of it's good to have the wherewithal and the radar and the things you need to look out for when you do bro stuff.
Yes.
Bryson?
Yeah, in contrast, I am a personality who is or who has an appetite for group riding. And I've been on many group rides. I even used to take part in guiding them at some point. And I have been on some rides willingly where it was like very heavily woman tilted in terms of the men to women ratio. And what I did notice is basically it's basically the same. You just don't get sort of that kind of a bravado, or like the kind of the quote unquote bro feeling. But they're still pushing each other. There's still the like overcoming the challenges, sense of accomplishment. Basically all those things, except for that like one tiny element, the bro element, that kind of makes it like man, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I can see why Juliana as a brand wants to use that voice to speak to women specifically, because it really is like, once you just remove that one element, it's basically the same. Just there's that one distinction. It's really funny. So kudos for Santa Cruz and Juliana to put that out there and kind of influence that and support that. That's my sense. But on the flip side, Karin, maybe you can tell us something you don't like about the industry.
Well, first of all, regarding clothing for female riders, there is the thing. It has been already when I was skateboarding. Back in the 80s, 90s, there were no clothes for female riders because I don't know why, but in the skate shops you had always to wear those men t-shirts. And well, in the bike industry it has changed. We have a lot of cool modern nice clothes for female, but in terms of colors they are always the same. They're either blue, pink or purple. I don't know if you noticed, but if you want to have 5'10" with a female cut, you have like the opportunity to get the blue one or the pink one and nothing else. And why is that? So why is that? I want to have the same color as a female rider as my pro biker friends are wearing. So that's probably something the bike industry could improve, in my opinion. I don't know if it's actually a need for other girls, but it's really funny because my bike friends sometimes they tell me that I'm a little bit of a tussie. I don't know how to pronounce that in English. A bike tussie, because my clothes are always matching with each other. And what I am observing is that as a girl rider, you have only the opportunity to buy certain clothes, and they are always the same color. So that's why
it always looks matched.
Clothes. Yeah, it looks matched. So my helmet at the moment is black and purple, and there is a lot of blue also in my backpack and in the trousers. There is not that many colors to choose from, and I think that has to change.
In which way?
Just treat everyone the same.
Okay. So you have the same colors, woman cut and a man cut.
Yeah. Or neutral colors. Black is always a good thing to go.
And black is fast.
Black is fast. Yes. And what else? I would really like to see more female in trail building, actually. Because I think trails and bike parks would be more diverse, fun, but safe to ride for everyone if there were more women involved. And why is that? Because it's just my theory, but I think it lays in the nature of a woman. We have the ability to think about everything and everyone, and a girl or a female trail builder would only build and design a trail which is for kids or for not that or advanced rider, but also beginners. I think it's easier for a girl to imagine who would actually ride the trail and what has to be done as a safety reason. I think a man is always focusing on the challenges, maybe. Not everyone, that's a little bit, in general, but it could be.
It's a good one. We don't see many female trail builders, that's for sure.
Yes. So if you out there, a female
trail builder,
like building trails,
we want to talk to you.
Yes.
I definitely know one in North Vancouver, but we can pick it up later.
Okay. What's your opinion about trail building and how trails are built these days?
So I've participated in some trail days, and I've gained a little bit of understanding. I don't have a whole lot. I'm not really trained at all, but one thing that I really agree with is that they make trails sustainable, so that they are hard to wear down in these high traffic or sort of like high consequent places where you can really wear out the trail. They purposely use the correct soil and erosion techniques or water, ducting techniques so that you can really get the most use out of the trail. And it really comes down to like a science. So I'm really on board with that whole idea. And I'm also on board with people not braiding. I guess just in general, I liked having good trails. I want to make sure they stay around for a long time. But, it's a big can of worms. There's the whole land access topic and the sharing topic with other trail users. So, basically I want everyone to get along. How about you, Pascal?
Yeah, I mean, obviously echoing your comments on sustainability. I'm a 4-season rider. I like to have trails that are rideable of 4 seasons. We're relatively lucky here in Zurich. There's a couple of options that you can ride, pretty much year round without destroying too much. I think there is certainly here in Switzerland, there's enormous scope for establishing institutional trail management. So yes, we have Zurich trails here. There's a couple of places in the Grisons specifically that do an incredibly well job with institutionalized trail crews. Obviously, talking my own book, I'm a big fan of Davos, and I think Davos is doing one of the best jobs that I've seen in Switzerland in terms of the trail management. It's an enormous area that they have to cover, and they have 5 full-time equivalents that are looking after trails during the season. So, simple stuff like building drainages, fixing corners, fixing little bridges and stuff like that. Unfortunately, outside of the, let's say, tourist-interested areas, there's not much of that happening. So here in Zurich, you have the 2-3 official trails, and everything else is kind of in this semi-tolerated, legal, whatever you want to call it, space. It's not managed. It's not sustainable. It's everyone does what they want as long as they're not getting caught, and as long as nothing happens, that's fine. Unfortunately, I think there's always scope for people to work together and for consensus solutions. Finally, before I get off my high horse, is I believe the distribution of trail difficulty needs to be improved, especially at the current stage where you have an enormous amount of people coming into the sport. If you look at, if you have, say, 10 trails available in a destination, and if you look at the distribution of the ability of riders, then it cannot be that the majority of those riders are advanced riders. So that would dictate that the majority of those trails should be blue trails or beginner/intermediate trails, couple of advanced trails, and only 1 or 2 out of 10 trails should be expert trails. And I think we are, in terms of the relation, but I think we are far away from that, let's say, ideal state. And that would help with managing traffic, with managing where people ride, how they ride, when they ride, and that would go a long way in avoiding conflict and avoiding land access issues and all that sort of stuff.
If I may, I do want to challenge your horse statement. Like one of the reasons you don't see these rogue trails being built as blue or green, as you would call, like easy or whatever for beginner, is because they're making these trails under their own consequence. If they get caught, they could be fined or worse. And then it's so quick for a trail that's not easily hidden or maybe ridden so fast to be discovered. And when that trail's discovered, your hopes are up for completing your trail, completing your project, and really creating what you set out to create. And if you created it as a blue trail and you have now an enormous amount of traffic, then now it's so obvious to the state and they shut it down real quick and all your effort was for nothing, maybe even before you finished it.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying that, to get my utopia, there's obviously a couple of things that need to happen, and of exactly that, what you're describing is obviously one of those elements, right? So you need to have, to take your example, you need to have enough blue trails that people stick to the blue trails, so you can build a black trail, and then you don't have enough. Then you're not getting overwhelmed by the traffic on the black trail, because only people for black trails are riding the black trail.
And then, so there would have to be something in place beforehand in order to,
I know it's a chicken and egg catch-22 kind of situation. I am fully aware of that. I was just describing my utopia. Right? Just let me be in my utopia.
Please invite me.
All right. Time's up. So we would like to close out the show with a couple of questions that we ask all of our guests, if that's okay. To get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about that first bike that got you really stoked on riding?
Well, my first bike, it was not my first bike, it was my second bike actually, but it really got me stoked. It was a Specialized Demo 7 in 2007, and I think it was the first free ride bike with a single crown 180 millimeters, the RockShox Totem. And it felt really, really playful. I got to experience all my super huge jumps with it. And I would say in hindsight, that was at that time my most exciting bike for jumping. And I remember my first a bigger jump. It's not a big jump now, but then it was definitely my first big jump. That was in Gurten, the road gap we have there. I don't know if you
In Bern?
Maybe Bryson, you live in Bern now. It's not a road gap, but those days I called it a road gap. It's a jump over a path.
Yeah. If you pre-jump it far back enough, which is possible on some lines, it definitely feels like a road gap. You're going quite a distance, yeah, because you can collect some speed. True.
So, and when I first started out biking, that for me was a huge jump. And afterwards, the road gap, it's a drop in Châtel. The one you would see beneath the lift. I don't know which one, how it is called, but it was a huge drop over a decent gap. Maybe I counted 10 meters long, and I think 3 or 2.5 meters high. And I jumped that one with this cool Specialized Demo 7. Pretty much in my first season of mountain biking.
Oh, wow.
It was
Rad.
pretty cool, yes.
Rad.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
That's
also I got it from Trail Devils, which is our Swiss market website. And I was really lucky because there was a guy who bought it, but as he waited for the bike, he had an injury, and afterwards he decided not to ride big bikes anymore. So he got it and sold it, and I got a really good price of it. So yeah, that's
Nice.
the
Those are
best bike
bikes.
I ever had.
Exactly. Best bike. Where is it today?
Today, actually, this season, I have to have my bikes within the season. I'm riding mostly my trail bike, which is a Santa Cruz Talboy, a short trail bike, 29-inch wheel size. And I tuned it a little bit. I uplifted the fork from 130 millimeters to 140, so it feels like more like, yeah, it feels better downhill. And also I modified the rear shock, which is a Cane Creek coil tuned by Akira. Akira is like a Swiss tuning
Suspension god.
suspension, yeah. And that this way it feels really, really cool. That's my trail bike. And for bike park, I always ride a Nomad. Currently the latest version, Nomad 5. I just got it, so I only rode it once. And I used it to clear all those new jumps of the new Höckler trail we have here in Zurich.
Ah,
Ew.
nice.
Yes.
Very good. All right. Well, next one. Imagine you are Harriet Skidini and you're a bike magician extraordinaire, and you can make riding a bike more awesome for anyone by the stroke of a magic dropper post. What would you do?
So since I'm really into jumping with the bike, I think this is, in my opinion, the most exciting thing, and I think everyone should have that experience. So I would choose to give those skills and courage to jump the bike properly. Yes.
Good. I'll sign up for that.
Okay.
Bryson?
Since you've traveled a vast majority of the world and ridden many, many trails around as well, if you could pick a perfect corner to create the perfect skid, how would it go?
So yeah.
And where would it be?
Okay. It would be somewhere in Switzerland, especially since I like to ride in wet conditions. It should be a single track, a wet single track with a little bit of wet dirt, some wet roots and rocks. It could be Ticino. It's always good to slide and skid over rocks there. So that would be my perfect skid to just balance your bike through a wet single track.
Okay. Mud spraying, rocks flying, the whole deal.
Yes. Not too
Nice.
muddy though. Not
Yeah.
too muddy.
Just the right amount.
Yes.
Nice. We like it. Well, Karin, thanks again for your time today and for sitting down with us tonight. This was really, really cool. If listeners have any questions or want to learn more about you and find out what you're up to, where you are at any given point in time, how can they find you?
Well, it depends. If it's business related and you want to have a website, you can email me at karin@required.ch. If it's bike related, you could email me on karin@trailworks.ch or just follow me on Instagram, which is at Karin, like K-air, like airtime, I-N.
Nice. I like it. Very subtle. All right. Well, thanks again. This is super cool. I hope to see you soon. We're not too far away from each other, so I'm hoping we're getting out for a ride very soon. Bryson, good times as always. Thank you very much for your time as well, and talk to you soon.
See you.
Yes, thanks. See you.